I made Sussy Schoolgrounds Chapter 4, but it's RTX ON, featuring the mean, green, Chimpy Wimpy machine. And before you're all like, bro, make Chapter 5, I made Chapter 5 too. Welcome to the Sussy Schoolgrounds RTX finale. So far, we have Sussy Wossy, Munkus Lunkus, and Chunky Funky, and they've all been given the RTX remaster magic. And now we move on to Chapter 4 with Chimpy Wimpy. To make Chimpy Wimpy, we must copy paste the Sussy Wossy model. We're going to change the fur to be green, as well as the skin to be green. For the lips, I decided to use the circle curve, then add geometry to the curve, and then I adjusted the curve to form a mouth shape. I then removed the fur inside the mouth. I selected an edge loop around the mouth and filled it in with a face, and I turned that face black. I copy and paste the tooth from Sussy Wossy, positioned and stretched the tooth accordingly, and then I mirrored it to make the symmetrical tooth. And that is effectively Chimpy Wimpy. To make Clinky Blinky, I actually copy pasted the Chimpy Wimpy model. Then I changed the fur and skin to be blue. For the lips, once again, we're going to use a circle curve and adjust it accordingly. I'll remove the fur inside the mouth. I'll select an edge loop again around the mouth and fill it with a face, turn that face black. Clinky Blinky's teeth are very different, so this time I'm modelling the teeth starting with a cube, then I'll add some loop cuts and carefully adjust. We'll copy the top teeth and use them to make the bottom teeth. Clinky Blinky only has one arm, so we'll select the arm and fur and hit delete. I found this severed arm on Sketchfab, and I'm going to take its fleshy stub and use it for our fleshy stub on Clinky Blinky. I removed the rest of the arm, and I got rid of these yellow parts simply by selecting those faces and moving around the UV maps. I then positioned and scaled the stub to cover the missing faces on the arm, and that is Clinky Blinky. For their respective levels, I'm going to copy and paste the Chunky Funky level for Chimpy Wimpy, and then copy paste the Sussy Wossy level for Clinky Blinky. Let's begin with the Chimpy level. To start out with, I played the game to get a sense of the rooms and made this map. So I know that there's a library here in place of the art room, so we'll delete everything in the art room, and then we'll put a bookcase down, scale, position, duplicate to make more bookcases, and there we have our library, and we stick a banana right about here. Chapter 4 also has these stairs, but the stairs are actually a trap, and I'm not crazy about that. And also I don't want to model stairs, so instead I found this door on Sketchfab as well as this piece of paper. I'm going to put a note on the door that says stairs out of order that I wrote with just my finger on the screen. Let's position that door in place of the stairs, and that looks just about right. The flashlight is too bright. We will fix this later. We have a normal generic classroom as well. It's the same as before, but for some reason Chapter 4 classrooms are sideways. So we're going to pick the walls and we're going to rotate and transform them. Rotate and transform the board, rotate and transform the desk, rotate and transform the chairs, rotate, transform, rotate, transform. Let's move on to the toilets. I found this toilet stall of Sketchfab and I textured it, I UV'd it, and I duplicated it to make several toilet stalls. I then found a toilet on Sketchfab and I positioned the toilets in each of the stalls and positioned both the toilets and the stalls into our level. I found this sink model on Sketchfab and thought that was good enough, and I just pasted it in place, copy paste, and finally for the men's there are urinals. Once again, Sketchfab to the rescue, found this urinal model and positioned multiple urinals in place. Then for the women's WC, I copy pasted the toilet stalls and the sink. I made some images for the signs for the men's and the women's toilets. I modelled very simple boxes with the signs on, and then I positioned each of these signs. In the Chimpy Wimpy level, there is also a computer lab. So we cleared this classroom. I found this table on Sketchfab. I put this table down, duplicated it a bunch to make 3 rows. I put down some chairs and I rotated them a little, gave them a little jiggle to make it look a bit more natural. And then I found this old computer because I think the old retro computer gives a bit more of a spooky vibe. And I placed them around the classroom and gave them a little rotation each way. And that is our spooky little computer lab. Finally, we have the music room. The music room is just full of a bunch of chairs. I found this flute on Sketchfab. I had to texture it in Blender. I didn't do a good job. I also found this piano on Sketchfab, this guitar on Sketchfab, the saxophone on Sketchfab. We have a grand piano that I placed in the level. We have a guitar that's leaning against a chair. We also have a saxophone that's leaning against a chair, but the saxophone didn't look very gold, so I adjusted the material to make it way more gold. Plownouse's level has an Easter egg, a nod to Bijou Mike, but I'm going to make my little laptop Easter egg to Polymars. So I found this beautiful photo of him. However, the flashlight is too bright and it's time to fix this. I learned that Unreal Engine by default has auto exposure on. This tries to lighten dark areas, but it makes them extremely blotchy and grainy. So if I simply switch it off, the flashlight is no longer a flashbang, and the dark areas stay dark. Animations. Chimpy and Clinky both are made from Sussy's skeleton, which never worked in Mixamo, but by some miracle, now it does. So I replaced my janky Sussy run that I made by hand with the mutant run from Mixamo. So now Sussy runs like Sussy, and it's so much nicer. Chimpy runs the same, but Chimpy has a different jump scare. Chimpy's jump scare is this zombie scream, and Blinky's regular walk is actually this like injured walk. However, when I applied animations to Blinky's character model, we see the geometry is warping on his arm. So we go back into Blender and we do weight painting. And I hate weight painting. I found the problem area and how it wasn't weight painted correctly, and I weight painted it correctly. So now our Blinky has his animation and he's walking right and there's no morphing. Voice acting. For some reason, I gave Chimpy Wimpy this accent.
Chimpy Wimpy, Chimpy Wimpy, Chimpy Wimpy, Chimpy Wimpy.
Chimpy Wimpy's jump scare is just a For Blinky, I wasn't sure what he was actually saying, so I asked the creator Polymars, and once I found out that he's actually saying Blinky E.
Clinky Blinky E, Clinky Blinky E, Clinky Blinky E, Clinky Blinky E.
And then Blinky's jump scare. For Blinky's level, it's effectively the same as Sussy's level, except for there's no playground, so we delete all these playground objects. Here is a map of the position of the bananas, so I plot them down, and when you collect all these bananas, a gate is supposed to open. I took the fence model that I had, and I fashioned a gate out of it. And then I also made fence posts for the gate to be attached to. Bringing them back into Unreal, I can rotate the gate to make it open, and then when that gate opens, you're supposed to be able to run out into the road and be picked up by a car. It's a blue car, but I chose this blue Beetle, and now when you collect all the bananas, the gate opens and the car comes to you. And that concludes Sussy Schoolgrounds RTX. Polymars' chapter 1 and 2, and Polymars' chapter 3, 4 and 5. I will not be making any more chapters. Also, I want to move on from Sussy Schoolgrounds because I want to work on something else. Subscribe!